Hey Gary, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Cold,
Yeah.
shivering in the cold here.
We're both here. We've both moved to foreign countries. We're both freezing cold. It's just not right, is it? I think it's worth back in the UK.
But I like this country, Czech Republic. I'm happy here.
Yeah, tell us about it. What's it like?
Well, it's a Slavic country. It's the center of Europe. So I was born in Hull, so I'm a sea person. I have the sea in my veins, and I couldn't be
Mm.
further away from the sea if I tried here. That's the only downsides. But I like the mythology. I like the culture. I like the pagan side of it. I like the countryside. It's very beautiful, and I like the history. Um, for example, yesterday I was out looking at a castle just in on the border with Austria. Magnificent place. Never even knew it existed. And of course, it was demolished in 1645 by the Swedish army. And I'm thinking to myself, the Swedish army also came to Brno and tried to take the city, but were denied by the man who ran the garrison, who was a Scotsman. And this is 1645,
Yeah,
and you're thinking, how the
yeah.
hell did they get? How the hell did a Scots guy get from Glasgow to Brno and end up running a bloody garrison and defeating a Swedish army? And what were the
That was,
Swedes doing down here?
yeah.
I mean, if you do British history, you don't learn any of this stuff. So.
You don't learn anything particularly interesting in history, do you? Really? And it was
I mean, I
before
never knew
easy.
the Swedes had that kind of capability to
And I didn't.
terrorize half of Europe.
Yeah, I didn't even think. I didn't even realize that they were. They went out on expeditions like that. I thought they were
No,
just a
no,
peaceful
no.
little nation that
Yeah,
sat. So
absolutely.
I'm from Preston, which is right across from Hull, isn't it? So
Yeah,
you were on the east, and I was kind of
yeah,
levelish on the
yeah,
west, northwest of England. And
yeah,
this is a beautiful place. I just moved to the Cathar country, south of
yeah,
France. Absolutely beautiful as well, and loads of history.
yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to carry on doing the tours here. And we were talking earlier about maybe doing one over at your.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be a great idea to visit like some of the locations across the Templar line. They
Yeah,
have historical interest around the Templars. There's just recently really working hard on a couple of thoughts around resonance and sound frequencies and lines. So I can,
yeah.
and also Thomas Sheridan talks a lot about round towers, and
Mm.
there's three round towers here, not the same exactly, but round towers nonetheless. And each of them is actually sat on a female energy line, and each of them is very energetic. So I've come to the conclusion that these round towers actually magnify the energies, and were
Well, yeah,
probably for that purpose. And
that's what
also, the
Thomas said
interesting
to me.
thing is
Yeah,
as you go up the tower, up and down the
yeah,
tower,
yeah.
the nature of the energy sort of changes vertically, which you wouldn't know if you were just dowsing energy lines at ground level. So I think
Yeah.
these round tower designs had a purpose beyond just looking pretty.
Can you get up inside them then? Is it like
One or two of them, yeah. There's one at Yindriku Fredets, and you can actually climb to the top. Not that I did, because I'm horrible with heights, but Eva went up there, and I went halfway up.
mm,
And you could feel the energy, the sort of energy shifting and changing as you went up the tower. And then there's a couple of other
yeah,
round towers where we found exactly the same thing. So there's a lot to be explored, and
yeah,
a lot of spiritual stuff here that would interest people, like Templars activities, and also just female centric goddess type devotion, often disguised as Marian
yes.
pilgrimage sites and that kind of thing. But they go back to pre-Christian days, and obviously are related to goddess worship.
Yeah, it's like the Dark Madonna things they have around here. It's the same.
Yeah.
I think that's like a pagan thing. Speaking of towers, though, have you been to the one in Sintra, the one that the temple that goes down
Mm-mm.
like an yeah, that's really weird. That's kind of I think of a Knights Templar initiation thing.
Uh-huh.
And the other crossover with here, where I am, is the Templars because this was gonna be their homeland, their independent
Right.
Temple state, until of course um, Simon de Montfort and the Pope intervened and murdered them all. Oh
Yeah.
no, that wasn't. No, that was the Cathars, wasn't it? Yeah, the Knights Templar was well, it
You've
was
you've gone quiet,
the
Neil.
Pope and the King. I've gone quiet.
There you go. That's better. Came back again.
Sorry, I'm getting near my mic. Yeah, so yeah, we'll do it. I'm up for doing that. I think it'd be really interesting.
I see. Internet connection is unstable, so maybe that's what it was. Yeah, I think it'd be great fun. And as we were talking earlier um, about Cathars and
Mm.
knights and stuff, you know, having done some past life regression and being told that I was Simon de Montfort, I'd love to come down and visit your part of the
God.
world as well.
Yeah, well, go.
The most hated
It,
man in history.
yeah, the most hated man. His grave slab is on the wall in the cathedral in La Cité, Carcassonne,
Yeah.
and people go and see it, and it's all cracked. I think it's because people have thrown bricks at it, but
Well, like I was telling you, I mean, I think it was interesting that the one time I was there in my teens on holiday with my parents, I was telling them what to expect around the next corner. So I did feel a connection to that part of the world, but I've never been back subsequently.
I've been coming here for 25 years and staying with groups. And I
Yeah.
always to me, it's like coming home. Your heart lifts a bit. Oh, I'm here. It's great. I'm back home again.
Yeah, well, I think I had that same sort of feeling of home, and that's the feeling I get here too. And just recently, I got a very strange email from a lady in a village outside of Brno. There's a place called Zheznovice, and there's a church which was built by the Templars, and it's a very
Mhm.
unique church. It's a place of historical interest and all that kind of stuff. And I'd been there several times. I made a couple of videos on it, and even discovered that you can buy one of those models to build of it. So it's quite famous, although I'd never heard of
Mhm.
it. And inside this church, there's an exhibition of a couple of those gravestones, and one is just a Templar cross.
Mhm.
And what they say is that the head of the camaraderie, or whatever the name of it was in this area, was called Brother Echo, and this is where he was buried. And Brother Echo comes up in our research all the time. He was the one that was always present during negotiations when a church was handed over or land was donated, that kind of thing. And he was quite an important chappie in this sort of part of the world.
Mhm.
And out of the blue, I get this email from a lady I've never met, don't know, in this Czech village of Zheznovice. And she says, I've been watching your YouTube channel and I want to tell you that I dreamt about you the other evening and I'd like to talk about my dream. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be interesting. And she's obviously writing in English, so it wasn't great English, but I could get the gist. But what she told me was that in the dream, she went to the church at Zheznovice to try to help put Brother Echo's soul to rest. And she succeeded, and she saw him rising up out the ground and up into
Oh,
the air. And Brother Echo had my face.
oh,
And
hey, sometimes I don't know what to think about that. That's yeah. So
I'm
you
like,
Simon de
okay.
Montfort and Brother Echo
So maybe I was Brother Echo as well, maybe that
echoing
explains
history.
the reason why I'm back here. I do know talking past lives that in that same set of sessions that I did with a friend's husband in Houston doing regression, I also had memories of being a little girl in a Czech, in a Slavic settlement. And there's a place here called Mikulčice, which I always go and think, oh, yes, this is home. I feel it's an archaeological site and it's a visitor centre with a lot of historical stuff. And I've dowsed all the lines there and everything several times. And I used to dream a lot of being frightened in this house of a storm, a very strong storm. And my mum in the dream takes me to this window, and I always wake up thinking, well, there was no glass; it was just a hole in the wall, right, with like some kind of cover.
Yeah.
And she's having me watch the lightning, and she's telling me, "Don't worry, it's just the gods chasing each other." And of course, now that makes perfect bloody sense because if I was a small child in a Slavic village, which was pagan, or a Slavic settlement, the two gods, Perun, the god of the skies, and Veles, the god of the underworld, which represent seasonal forces, at certain times of the year fight each other because Veles comes up and steals Perun's wife or cattle. And then
Mhm.
Perun gets angry and goes after him with his lightning bolt weapon. So,
Okay.
there's a dream and past life regression telling me I was a little girl in this part of the world during the Slavic era. and
Um,
it fits. It actually fits.
fits into history.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a bit like
Well, it
the
fits
Arthurians one.
into the pagan mythology as well.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
wouldn't have known that as a small child. I mean, there's no way I knew anything about Perun and Veles and lightning and
So things come back to you, don't you?
yeah,
It's really, yeah. I mean, this whole idea about place. I mean, I'll say over here, we can both talk about our different areas. And I used to come and we used to go to this, stay in this hotel. It was called L'Evêché, the old bishop's palace. And it was a beautiful, beautiful old French building with the abbey remains connected to it and everything. We used to sit outside after dinner, and nobody ever went out. There's nowhere to go, but it was a really small town. But I went there for so many years, and then it was only after I've been going there like 15, maybe 15 years that I found out that the Kabbalah was actually written,
oh
the
really?
teachings in that place. There's something I had been studying myself
Yeah,
for all my life, and I
yeah.
was there sat outside, and you kind of realise that God, where we're sat having a glass of wine after dinner is where all the old, well, um, the Jewish quarter, of course, a lot of, and then they had the Catholic bishops, and they had Nostradamus lived in the town, and it was
Hmm.
like, you think, well, how these things come together.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's and then everything eventually seems to
Synchronicity.
slot in. Yeah, yeah. I mean, why did I find that place? A second home, and you said, and then I find that out.
Hmm.
It's like it blows your brain, doesn't it? So that can't have been a coincidence.
No,
And everything you've followed all your life seems to come together
yeah,
into a whole.
yeah. I mean, the same thing here. Coming to the Czech Republic, chasing a lady was the reason. Nothing spiritual at all. And once we broke up, and I was kind of lost, I found I got on a trip and a journey that basically unveiled this whole new world that
Mm,
brought like everything I'd done in the past suddenly became relevant again. That's
yeah, yeah,
servants of the light, magical stuff, Kabbalah, and it's like, wow, how did that happen? And the Templar stuff and the Slavic stuff and chasing Earth energies. So I sometimes I think life is magical and it's a magical journey. You've just got to be open. You've just got to be open to the signals, the synchronicities, and follow them.
yeah, yeah. I reckon. It's that I was reading. I was doing this the Kabbalion thing with Sarah, and it's the thing I
Yeah,
followed for years. And causation, it's like following a trail backwards. It's like, how did this happen? Well,
yeah,
it seems like a massive coincidence, yet if you could tap in
yeah.
into the reason this happened, the reason that happened, the reason that happened, and you can see that there's actually, so have you got a free will, or are all these things happening to you as you go along?
That's a really deep question, and
It is a deep question, yes.
sometimes I think we don't have free will. I remember in a meditation session, and this was a particularly strong image. I was trying to meditate on free will and the nature of
Yes.
time and how the two
Mm,
things are related. And
mm.
what I saw was a record player with a stylus.
Yeah.
And so,
And that's a
it's almost
vibration as
your
well.
life, yeah, and then back to vibration, but your consciousness is the stylus stuck in the record. And then I realized, well, but if life is like a record, then it's pre-recorded.
Yeah, well, I think in that, if we're going back to the whole hermetic thing again, in a way it is, because if you look at the all, which is like the deity, the whole thing and everything, the idea is that the all has an idea, and it's like we would get a. I think we'll build a house, so
Yeah,
we draw a blueprint, and then we start working on it. So the person who's doing the bricklaying in this house, is he's only really following my thought of building a house, isn't it? So he
yeah,
didn't really. I mean, that it all tangles up together. So
yeah,
if the all is having a thought and an idea, in a way, it is kind of pre-recorded, isn't it? Because all you're
yeah.
doing is following the blueprint of
And then
the deity.
then your consciousness is an instrument of discovery. It's like a reaction to to whatever is put in front of you, right? And that's the all experiencing itself, I guess, through you
Yeah, yeah,
and you as an
absolutely.
extension. And what you just described is also a classical way of looking at the tree of life,
Hmm.
because as you go down from Keto all the way down, you are basically starting off with an idea. You're then basically turning that idea into, talk about house. I need some place to live is probably the idea. And then as you start working your way down that tree to Malkut, right, where you've actually got the physical house built,
Yeah,
you are refining the ideas both mentally and physically. So you're saying, okay, well, I'll have a house with 3 bedrooms, I'll have a slate roof, I'll have a door at the front and at the back, I'll have a little garden, I'll have an inside bathroom. So as you go through that process of creation yourself, you're actually the further you go into Malkut, the more you're
mm,
sort of you're dictating the outcome. So you're losing your freedom of choice as you make those decisions and go down into physical reality. Do you
yeah,
follow what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah. I
Because by
do.
the
Yeah.
time you've
Well,
decided it's a 3 bedroom house with a small garden and a white picket fence, you can't then say, okay, I changed my mind, I'll have a block of flats instead.
no, you can't. No, because you are building that thing as the
Yeah,
vibrations come down. Because you're
yeah,
working from the blueprint. That's the thing, isn't it?
yeah,
Everything's a blueprint, even though you can't see your particular position in it. And you've got a choice. I mean, you could decide not to do it, which
yeah,
would be walking off your path, or or you can make decisions. Shall I have a blue gate or a red gate? But at the end of the day, you're gonna have a gate. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah.
so
You're
you've got this.
constrained. Well, the word is
Everything's
constraining. That's what I was looking for. You're
yeah,
constraining as you go down what I call vertical polarity from Keto to Malkut, and you go through
yeah.
all these stages. You're more and more constraining your reality until you end up with something on the physical plane, and then it's a done deal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And as the vibrations solid get more and more solid, that's the thing. At the top of cathode is supposed to like spirit, really fast vibrations, and it slows down
Yeah,
and becomes matter. So the more it becomes matter,
yeah,
the less you can move it.
yeah.
Because you can move spirits because you can have thoughts. But by
No,
the time
actually, I
by
wanted
the
to
time
ask
you've
you a
got it solid,
question, Kabalion. The 3 initiates, do you have any idea who they were?
no, it does say at the back.
Oh,
I've never
really?
read all that. I've never read the last little bit. It says about the oh no, it's about the author. That might just be about this book.
Yeah,
But
because
no, it just the Hermetic teachers, weren't they? The Hermetic philosophers book.
yeah, I mean, I've heard some people say that one of them was Paul Foster Case, but I've never been
Oh,
sure whether that's true
well,
or not.
he was my well, he died before, but he was my teacher, Paul
Yeah,
Foster Case,
right.
and Anne, what's his name? And Nick Nixon, who followed him. Yeah,
Mm.
he's the guy that
Yeah,
uh, did the BOTA. It's like he was the
yeah.
man.
But
Absolute. It could have been him. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
He was head of the Golden Dawn for the whole of North America at one point, and he
well,
was
it's a great story about him having a telephone call from, was it I can't remember, from some, was it Comte, the Comte or somebody, the famous count
mm,
that reappears periodically through history. I think he called him a secret master or something. He called him on the
yeah, I know
called
what
him
you
on the
mean. I
telephone.
can't remember the
Yeah,
name. Yeah,
yeah, bizarre. Anyway,
yeah,
so yeah, the Kabbalion, it's been a long time since I've read it. And I remember what struck me about it was the whole vibration stuff and also the polarity.
yes. Yeah.
And that's
Well,
been a fascination ever since, the polarity, what
that that
polarity is.
that ties into what you were just saying about things coming. You've got a decision. You've got to think of it, but your decision can only be within those poles because you're always controlled or restrained by natural law.
Yeah,
So you can't move out of that. So you're always within. And I think the whole idea of the Kabbalion and the Kabbalah and my online course, ladies and gentlemen, is that we are within this constraint. And if you can learn universal laws and how you can work within them and get your outcomes from that, then it's a brilliant way to live your life because you're kind of swimming with like not a someone's coming upstream, you're floating down, you're working with the energies, and you're working within the law, so you're not fighting all the time.
Mm.
Even I mean,
Kabala's a great way to look at the world, and it's a great filing system as
mm,
well, a mental filing system, I think. And
yeah,
it really, when I did the Servants of the Light course, a good deal of it was Kabbalah Tree of Life,
yeah.
and I was always absolutely blown away by the book on the topic by, gosh, name escapes me, lady.
Oh, the Day Fortune,
Yeah, I thought
Day
that was the
Fortune.
best.
Yeah, I
I read
read
the
that.
Gareth Knight
Interesting. Mm,
massive term on it, but Dion Fortune's book was the one that really sort of helped me
mm.
understand the concept more, shall we say? Yeah,
Yeah, I read that as well. Difficult book to read, but it really gives, yeah, it brings every concept into,
yeah,
it explains it, doesn't it? So
yeah,
it's a definitive
yeah,
tome. I think she's an amazing lady. Once she was
yeah.
servant to the light, wasn't she? But later on,
I love some of the novels. They're really actually our novels are more full of magical teaching than some of the books you wrote
mm,
on magic. If you get into them, I love the um, I love the Sea Priestess
Sea
and the
Priestess,
sort of feminine, the magic of the feminine, and all
mm.
that kind of stuff that she was writing about is really, really good, really touched me. I've read those books numerous times and probably will read them again numerous times before the end.
Yeah, whenever that comes. The
Yeah,
divine feminine is an interesting thing, isn't it? Really, it's like it's such an amazing. Well, the gender comes into the Kabbalah as well, doesn't it? Yeah, there's not just on the physical level, but the fact that everything's got both genders,
yeah,
and that's polarity as well. One end to do,
yeah.
but it's that female thing. You know, I was thinking about the Lord of the Rings, the Gladriel. She's like the really feminine character, but she's massively powerful within
Mm.
that female archetype. And that seems to be something that the world is trying to kill. You know, you have
Yeah,
the
actually, I have a feeling it's coming back, the divine feminine, or it's trying to come back. But the powers that be don't want it, do they? They don't want a divine feminine, and they tried to kill it throughout history with the Catholics and suppressing all of that stuff and encapsulating everything in one Virgin Mary concept and we're back to your part of the world in Cathars because Mary Magdalene takes on massive importance as well. And for me, now living in the Slavic country and looking at Slavic paganism, the goddesses have taken on a real significance. And, in particular, believe it or not, and when I tell people this, sometimes they recoil in horror. I have a very strong relationship with the goddess of death, Marana. And some people react quite negatively to that. How can you have aren't you frightened of the goddess of death? But she's the goddess of rebirth, is
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
basically what she is. She's not really the goddess of death. She's the goddess of rebirth, and particularly this kind of season when it's very cold and everything's sort of hibernating in the ground, ready to come back out in the spring.
Mm,
And I've found great profit spiritually from meditating and working with Marana. And I
right,
think that this we reject the divine feminine at our peril as people,
definitely.
humans, and a species.
Well, yeah, I mean, we can't move on, can't we? Because you need both sides of
Yeah,
the tree of life, like the male and the female, to
yeah,
act together to create. And without that active female element, we're going to go absolutely
yeah.
nowhere at all. And that
Well,
comes back into the teaching, doesn't it?
polarity
I'm just
is
about to say the
hugely
same
interesting.
thing. That was polarity, yeah. Moving,
Polarity
yeah.
is everything. When I finished the Servants of the Light course and was acting as a bit of a supervisor, I got really paranoid and almost like the guy in Encounters of the Third Kind, where he kept building the hill. I kept
Mhm,
drawing hexagrams and become really obsessive about hexagrams.
mhm.
And I ended up coming to the conclusion that there are three types of polarity. There is what I called vertical polarity, which is from spiritual to material and back.
Hmm.
There's horizontal polarity, which is like gender, black and white, hot and cold,
Yeah, yeah,
opposites, if you
yeah,
want. And then
yeah.
there's another thing in three dimensions, which is in-out polarity as well, right?
Yeah,
And
kind of connected up. Yeah.
yeah, I started to look at the hexagram as a key to unlock additional information. So I put it on the tree of life.
Hmm.
The hexagram fits on the tree of life perfectly, and then it
Does, yeah,
brings out
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
polarities off of the tree of
yeah.
life. You can start to look at the tarot attributions and everything else, and it starts to really come together. And
Mm.
I came up with a lot of thoughts on these three different types of polarities as the three cycles, I called them.
Yeah,
And
you should write a book about this.
well, I have actually.
Strangely
It's
enough.
called the
Yeah,
mystical hexagram, yeah.
yeah,
But
go on, show it.
just before the call, because you said you wanted to talk a bit about Kabbalah,
Hmm.
I dipped into it because I added a piece where I talk about the Kabbalion. It's only a couple of 3 pages, but it's amazing that the three parts, the three aspects of the Kabbalion I picked on were all the ones about polarity, vibration, etc. And the fact that there seems to be, that the hexagram talks to it in a so vibration. What is it? Horizontal polarity is described in the Kabbalah like this: everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has its pairs of opposites, like and unlike.
Yeah.
So that's one form of polarity, and then what I talk about as in-out polarity seems to equate to what they call rhythm.
Yes, well, that's in
So
it as well. Yeah.
it's so my obsession with the Kabbalion became all about the different types of polarities and what they mean and how they relate to life. And it led me to this belief that I should always try to be, I'd always try to seek the balance in everything. So the Tifereth, if you want,
Mm.
the point of perfect balance. The
Yeah,
problem
quite
is
so. Yeah.
if you pick the point of perfect balance all the time, you lose the ability to move because
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
you become a static point, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
the thing
yeah,
about
yeah.
polarity is everything's always vibrating in multiple directions.
Yeah. Well, I think you've got to go. It's like on the tree of life. You can't always be on the centre pillar. I think the adventure is when you move over to the male side or the female side. That's where you start learning. So I let myself go and then gradually bring myself back. And I don't justify. I don't tell myself off. I just think that was a wonderful trip I've been. But you've always got to bring yourself back, and
Yeah,
then you can rise up a little bit because yeah, because if you're in the pole, like you've got the poles, you've got the um like a bit of, I don't know, rule in between with like you're always going because you got the swing as rhythm as well.
yeah,
So you're always going from side to side. But it's in the middle, if you think about it, is where whatever the thing is kind of disappears a little bit. Because if you've how can I mean? So if you got fast and you got slow, sometimes you're gonna end up stopped.
yeah,
Well, sometimes oh no, that doesn't make sense. When you get if you once you get into the middle, that's where the massive energies of that particular thing you're looking at have sort of dissipated because you're not strong on the right, and you're not strong on the left. You're kind of middle of the road. So yeah, I'm kind of agreeing with you. Yeah, I can see it. Mm.
yeah. And I think that this is really fundamental and important to try to work with polarity. And polarity is why magic exists as well, in a sense, because it's the energies between the two polar opposites. Like, I often tell Eva when we're because Eva's a great friend and we work together on a lot of stuff, and I
Mm.
always tell her, I'm glad that I work with you, a female, because she's so different to me in the way she looks at things. And
Mm.
so, on a very mundane basis, we always add value to each other because she sees things and says, "Oh no, no," and I go, "No, no,
Mm.
no," and then we
Mm.
realize we're both right. We're just looking at it from different perspectives.
I remember that when you two were at the conference, sat in the
Yeah,
bar, and they were kind of putting each other right. It was like, yeah, it was a good relationship. They were
yeah,
feeding off each other. Yeah,
yeah. So I think that's a sort of little example of why it's important to have polarity in your life. But I think also, I don't know if you ever listened. There's an astrologer on YouTube. Oh gosh, I forget her name now. She's British and she's really good. And I watch quite a lot of her stuff. And she always talks about the current world, the way it is, all the troubles in the world and the globalists and all this kind of stuff. And she always says, try not to take sides. Instead, try to rise above it and be an eagle on a perch and watch it
Hmm.
dispassionately. And Thomas, of course, often says, doesn't he? Don't get sucked in, sort of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
have fun watching what's going on and sort of marveling at the world. And in
Yeah.
a sense, to me, this also is talking about the same concept that we're talking about. It's like, okay, well, out there, we're seeing all this polarity. We're seeing all these people that are one extreme and all
Oh,
these other
massive.
people at the other extreme.
Mm.
You can't take sides because you
No,
know
no,
fundamentally
you
that
can't.
balance is the right place to be. Now, the point of balance probably moves around, but balance is the right place. So try to rise up in polarity.
It's called transmutation, isn't it?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, you do. I mean, the idea is that sometimes if you can see the pendulum about to swing back, they say rise above it, and
yeah,
you rise above the whole thing, don't you? So you don't get
yeah,
smacked in the pendulum that comes the other way. So
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. That's what I always have tried to do. People will try and put you in a slot, but you just gotta. So I ain't going there,
Yeah.
because I'm just gonna watch it all. Because it's all gonna swing the other way eventually anyway.
And it's all wrapped up with the spiritual journey for me as well, because
Mm.
I don't know if you read much of my stuff when I blog and stuff, but I'm always talking about if I look back at my life. In fact, let's use Eva. Eva said to me after we'd known each other a little while, and she'd read a couple of my books, Inner Journeys, for example, which talks about the Servants of the Light course and stuff like that. And she said, it seems to me that you're always on the verge, Gary, of some kind of spiritual breakthrough, and then it doesn't happen. Why is that? And I said, well, because life has this habit of sucking you back in. No matter what you do, it just sucks you back in. You get distracted. And so,
Yeah,
I see this sort of big picture of polarity also just being the journey of life, because those polarities suck you back in when you let your guard down. All of a sudden, you wake up 2 or 3 years later and you think, hang on a minute, what happened to my
yeah.
daily meditation practice? It's gone.
But look at but that's a practice. But look at it on the other way. Um, it's one polarity, which I think is important to me, is the polarity between the fool and the hermit. That's a journey that you go on, right? You see the fool looks over into the distance, jumps down, goes down to the valley, climbs up, and that's a spiral journey. But I think we're doing that all the time, and sometimes we think we haven't got there when really you have. You've reached a certain amount of adeptship in a certain thing, and it's just been in. You haven't. It doesn't have to be like a bang flash. You've just got become more wise, maybe. So
Yeah,
you have moved forward on that particular thing. You've just blended it into your personality or into
yeah.
your spiritual personality, your spiritual person. Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I do agree with you. I think then what we're saying is that distraction can sort of take you from one side to the other. But even though
mm.
you think you're being distracted, you're still rising up.
Yeah. You're still doing it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
just doesn't smack you in the face. You
Because you're
just
learning,
yeah,
your
yeah,
consciousness is
absolutely.
experiencing. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think once you become, it's like the whole idea of once if you have a problem that keeps cropping up in your life, it always keeps coming back and back. And then one day you might not even realize you've done it, but a certain concept comes to you, and that's supposed to be like the divine talking to you, and you find that that problem doesn't happen anymore. But you haven't had a massive awakening. You've just realized what the problem is, so it doesn't keep coming. You've got the overall concept has been absorbed into yourself,
yes,
and you don't get the problem again. Yeah.
yes, that's true. Absolutely. Good stuff. Yeah. So yeah, I'm fascinated by this whole discussion, polarity. I could talk about it forever. And I must
Oh, it
reread the
is.
Kabbalah, and I planned to do it this weekend, but I didn't. See, I got distracted.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, easy to do, isn't it? It don't matter because you know about it anyway. Um, so can I mention my course?
Absolutely, please do.
So it's all this stuff. put in an online course. It's self-mastery and empowerment through ancient wisdom. And it's in three parts. It's based on all this Hermetic philosophy, but we do it through the major arcana of the tarot, which nothing to do with divination. It's about helping you build your own life, become in control of your own life. It's on three levels: powers of consciousness, universal laws, and how to use those together to get outcomes and become adept in a particular thing in life. And it's on my website, megalithic.tours.com. So please join it. And if you do that, you can join our community as well. We all talk together in the background. It's on Facebook, even though I'm not a massive kid on Facebook, but that's where we all meet. So megalithic.tours.com. Hope to see you.
Good stuff.
Yeah, is there anything you want to
Well, I mean, obviously for me, it's we talked about a couple of my books. The Mystical Hexagram is quite a popular book, actually. It sells quite well. Very surprising to me indeed, because I don't really do any publication. I wrote it with my you can't see it really. There we go.
There it is. Yeah.
I wrote it with my colleague Sue Vincent, who unfortunately, if you knew Sue, she passed away a 3 years ago. But she contributed some wonderful chapters on Kabbalah and also the hexagram from a historical point of view. And it's also comes with a course which you can do on Teachable. So I'll probably provide a link for that. And then the other book I mentioned was Inner Journeys, which is out on Toth Publications and talks about my journey of finding the servants of the light and doing their 5-year course and what I learned, and an inner contact that I developed that I called Astroth during that process. Yep.
Okay. Well, I think we'll do this again, shall we?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, let's do it again.
I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
We'll be more structured next time because we didn't really plan anything. We just thought we'll just have a
That's all
talk.
right.
Because we could have literally talked forever. So yeah, I'm up for doing this again. So I
Sounds
think
good.
we've been going for a while. So should we say goodbye?
Yeah. Cheers.
Goodbye, folks. We'll see you again soon.